How's it going, everybody? My name is Release Radar, and in today's video, we take a look at the SANSUI ES-G34C5 34-inch curved ultra-wide gaming monitor. Let's get into it. Really quickly, before we get into the rest of the video, I just want to talk about why I picked this up. If you're staying tuned to the channel, you'll know that my old $700 LG Ultrawide got bricked by the Ryube camera mount that you put on the top of your screen. I'll put some pictures up on screen right now if you're out of the know. But if you have a curved monitor, I would avoid that product entirely. I would also just advise avoiding that brand entirely. Their customer support was no help to me. But with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and take a look at this new monitor that I just picked up. So I ended up getting this monitor on a flash sale on Amazon. That's why I went with this specific budget ultrawide monitor over the alternatives. There's actually quite a few ultrawide monitors around this price on Amazon. I got mine for about $209 before tax. It MSRPs for around $260 before tax. But with that price range, you're obviously not going to have some features that a higher end ultra-wide monitor would have. And what I mean by that is just that unfortunately some corners had to be cut for this monitor to reach this really competitive price for the specs that it has. And we'll get into specs in a second here. But one of the main corners cut is with its stand. There is absolutely no height adjustment on this stand, and it's a super short stand. So I actually have to prop this thing up on a box right now, and I'll put a picture up on screen of what that looks like. And the reason for why that is well, my monitor arm bracket doesn't fit because the back of this monitor is a circular design and this is not a circle. So the square doesn't go in the circle hole. So I can't attach my monitor arm to this device. So right now I have it propped up on a box, and I had to get an adapter, which I'll have linked down below. If it works, it gets here tomorrow. It's not here yet. But I will have an adapter linked down below if that actually resolves this issue and allows me to mount my monitor arm to this monitor so I don't have to have it propped up on an Xbox box. But with that being said, overall the build quality just feels super cheap, but that just brings me back to the point that this is a budget ultra-wide monitor, and for the specs that it has, for it to be able to be the price that it is, they had to cut some corners. So if you plan on mounting this to a monitor arm, just make sure it's actually going to fit your mounting bracket, and just understand that it feels pretty cheap, but it doesn't look bad at all. And that's mostly just due to the specs that this monitor has. So let's just go ahead and go over those. So looking at the spec sheet here, this is a 34-inch curved with a 1500R curve UWQHD 3440 by 1440 monitor. It's 165 Hertz with a 1 millisecond response time. It supports FreeSync. It also has blue light reduction, and it's flicker free. The screen color offers 125% coverage of the sRGB spectrum. It's 300 nits peak of brightness, 8 bits, DCI-P 395%, and also HDR compatible. However, I will say that it's not really true HDR, and HDR support on Windows isn't even really that good. The unboxing experience for this monitor is pretty easy. You just open up the box from the front of the box, not the top, which is slightly inconvenient as somebody who likes to keep their boxes. It just means keeping it closed up will be kind of annoying, but it's packaged in with some nice foam on both sides of the screen. And underneath the foam, you obviously get the display, and underneath the display and the other foam are all the accessories, which I'll just go ahead and talk about really quickly. So here are the accessories included with the monitor. First off, you obviously get the base for the stand. You also get your HDMI. You have your power brick, which is kind of chunky, but you know, it just kind of is what it is with a monitor at this price point. You also get the power cable, which is just your standard 3-prong power cable. And the last item of the box is the rest of the mounting system for the display. Lastly, when it comes to I/O on this display, it has 2 HDMIs, which support up to 100 Hertz, 2 DisplayPorts, which support up to 165 Hertz, an audio out, and it even has built-in speakers, but they don't sound that great. So as you can see, my background has changed, and that's just because 3 months have elapsed since the first part of this video. This is now the second part of the video. I'm recording this 3 months later. So I've spent 3 months with this display, and I have a lot of thoughts about it now that I've put some serious time in. Initially, going from 144 Hertz, and then in the interim of my monitor being broken and picking this one up, I had 100 Hertz, and then jumping from 100 Hertz to 165 Hertz, which is what this monitor has, was insane. 165 Hertz is the fastest refresh rate I've ever experienced on a monitor. I typically only used 144 Hertz monitors before this point. And while it's not really that much of a difference going from the 100, which is what I used before picking this up, to 165 was a huge jump in performance. So if you have even a 120 Hertz monitor and you're looking at maybe getting into ultrawide, but you're not really wanting to sacrifice frames for competitive gaming, I have been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals on this thing, and it has been an absolutely enjoyable experience. The game looks great and runs buttery smooth. And I know that ultrawide monitors are kind of a sore spot for competitive gamers. I personally do not ever feel like I'm at a disadvantage using ultrawide. Sometimes I feel like I'm actually at an advantage just with the expanded field of view. But just know that your competitive gaming experience won't be hindered just because you're deciding to pick up an ultrawide monitor. And in my opinion, your single player gaming experience will just be absolutely enhanced with an ultrawide gaming monitor. And I will say that there are some games, Elden Ring is a prime example, that are fantastically large, huge budget games, game of the year contenders. I think Elden Ring won game of the year it came out, but it just straight up doesn't have ultrawide support. So there are unfortunately going to be times where there's a huge game that comes out that just doesn't support ultrawide. And in 2025, even back when Elden Ring came out, I believe that's just incredibly lazy on behalf of the developers. We're in the 2020s. Ultrawides, while not as hugely adopted as standard 16:9 panels, have been in consumers' hands for a long time. And in 2020 through 2025, there's kind of no excuse for your game to not support ultrawide, but that's becoming less and less of a problem as the years go on. Pretty much every game has native ultrawide support. I can think of Bethesda Game Studios games, for example. Their adoption of ultrawide support took a little bit of time, but the recently released Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster has flawless ultrawide support. And you can even change your FOV in that game without editing an INI file or using the console commands, which is awesome to see. It's nice to see them finally catch up with, like, I don't know, 2012 PC gaming standards. But with that out of the way, single player games for the most part are just so much more immersive and just so much more fun, in my opinion, on a 21:9 ultrawide monitor. And because this is 3440 by 1440, it's obviously also a 1440p ultrawide monitor. And games like Cyberpunk 2077, the Oblivion Remaster, or whatever else you want to play and just really get lost in, single player games just excel being displayed on a cinematic aspect ratio like 21:9. But also for those of us who don't only game but work from home and use an ultrawide monitor for work, productivity is so much better. You can have so much more of an Excel spreadsheet open on an ultrawide monitor. You can display a lot more information while working within PowerPoint, within QuickBooks, within Salesforce, whatever it may be. You can have just the extra screen real estate for productivity is really, really, really useful. So you don't just have to get this as a gaming monitor. You can kind of justify it to yourself as like, hey, I might work from this thing too. And just the increased productivity you can get, especially if you only plan to use one display, having an ultra-wide monitor instead of just a 16:9 panel, you just have more screen to work with. So it makes working on an ultra-wide monitor just better. But having an ultra-wide monitor just opens up so many possibilities for both productivity and gaming. And for the price of about $242.99, this thing is a steal. And there are other similarly priced ultra-wide monitors with very similar specs that you could look at as well. Maybe one of them is just a little bit cheaper than the others and you just want to save a couple bucks, go for it. That's basically what I did with this, because while new it goes for about $243, I picked it up for $210 on a random flash sale. So these things go on sale on Amazon all the time. And there's a lot of these like entry-level budget ultra-wide monitors. Now you can get up to brands like LG and Alienware, where a monitor of this specs would be $800 to $1,000. But if you're just trying to see if ultrawide's for you, if you're not sure, if you're building your first PC gaming setup and you just want to go in with an ultrawide monitor, once again, 165 hertz, 3440 by 1440 with a 1 millisecond response time. This is an excellent gaming display. And it's only $243. So that price is extremely competitive and basically in line with the other monitors that are similarly priced that have similar specs. So I think that this is a fantastic value for what you get. And whether or not you get this specific one or just another budget ultrawide monitor that's on Amazon, I think for the most part, you'll have a pretty good time with it, because ultrawide, in my honest opinion, it's just a far more immersive gaming experience and just opens up so much more screen real estate for productivity. So my final thoughts here are that this is just an excellent gaming monitor. I think it's an excellent monitor, as I just said, for productivity as well. I think the price is extremely competitive. And I think if you're interested in just trying ultrawide out, this is a great starting point. And maybe in 2 years, 3 years down the line, you decide to go all out and get that fancy LG 45-inch giant ultra-wide display. That's like $1,500. But for me, ultra-wide is just the way to go. I can't really go back to 16:9. I just very much prefer ultra-wide. And that is kind of a preference thing. And you're not me, I'm not you. Maybe you get this and you don't like it. Well, that's kind of the beauty of Amazon. You can just return it. So I think that this monitor is worth it if you're just looking to get into ultra-wide for the first time, if you're building your first gaming setup, if you're looking for more screen real estate while working, and also just some gaming on the side. And I've said this in all of my ultra-wide video reviews that I've done, but consoles do not natively support ultra-wide. So if you plug in a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or a Switch, one of two things will happen. You'll either have black bars on the sides of your screen and it'll condense the image to just the standard 16:9, or you'll have a very stretched out image that does not look good. So while technically you can plug a console into an ultrawide monitors and consoles can't communicate in the same way that a PC can. So you will not have a true ultrawide gaming experience on a console. But if you're looking to get into PC gaming, if you're just looking to get into ultrawide gaming, or as I said, productivity, this is an excellent monitor for the price. I really do recommend it. It's been 3 months. I've had no glaring issues with it. I'm going to knock on wood after saying that. But I've really enjoyed my time with this monitor. And if you pick one up, I think you will as well. So let me know down below if you plan on picking up one of these monitors, if you already have an ultrawide monitor, or if you're just against ultrawide. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like and favorite the video for more content. My name is Release Radar, and I'll catch you guys in the next video of whatever I make, hopefully without a 2-month break. Peace.